Let's paint an arch today. I've done a couple arches in my house. That is called listing your qualifications to build trust. And today I'm going to show you how to make this arch. I know that transition was so bad. The first thing I do is make sure my walls are clean with a magic eraser, and then I patch any holes that may be there with spackle, and boy are there some holes to fill today. This wall actually used to be a gallery wall before I decided to paint it. Also, bet you weren't expecting to play a game today. Guess how many holes that I patch before the final number pops up on the screen. Leave your guess in the comments. How'd you do? Was your guess close? Before I started, I guessed I would have 30, so I came in under budget. Now, a supply list. On the next slide, this one right here, pause and screenshot at any point to get your supplies ready, and then we will get started on how to paint the arch. Boo! Actually, don't be scared. It's still me, just in different clothing. This is day 2 of how to paint an arch. I am going to get the walls sanded and painted, and then we will get into the nitty-gritty of actually how to paint the arch. You also need to see what's in my lap. Up next, after our surface is smooth and clean, we're going to break out our painter's tape. Painter's tape is a fantastic resource for helping you visualize and map out your arch. Right now you're just worried about the width on the wall. It doesn't really matter how high up the tape goes, but what does matter is that the tape is straight on both sides of your furniture. So pull out a level, a ruler, basically anything with a straight edge, and make sure it is going straight up on the wall. And that's actually another tip, is I like to leave my furniture in place for this part because it really helps me make a more informed decision, if you will, about where I want the edges of the arch to be. But once it's time to start drawing, we move the furniture. The next step is to measure inside the lines of your painter's tape. So right here, not right here, not the outside edge, because you're only going to be painting within the borders of that painter's tape. For me, from inside tape to inside tape, that number is 106 inches. I'm going to take that number and I'm going to divide it by 2, and that is going to be the midpoint of my wall. So make sure to remember this number for yourself because we are going to use it again. So I am taking a pencil and I'm marking that halfway point, and I'm just going to make sure that everything checks out. That does appear to be about 53 inches worth of arm spreading. That totally checks out. So the next thing I'm going to do is go straight up from that middle point that I marked on the wall and put a piece of tape where I want the top of my arch to be. This isn't any specific number, it's totally just personal preference, and I like to back up, reassess, and move the tape. I did that about 5 times today before I found a point that I liked. Now, I told you to remember that number, the middle point. For me, it was 53 inches, and here's what we're going to do with it. From where I put that tape to mark the top of my arch, I'm going to measure down that 53 inches and then put a nail in the wall at that point. You can also use a thumbtack. I just did not have one today. Now here's where I need you to stick with me. We're going to pull out our dental floss. Make sure you tie that dental floss super securely to your nail or thumbtack, and then you're going to be tying a pencil to the other end of the floss. But where exactly does the pencil go? So when you pull the dental floss out, the pencil should be flush with the inside edge of that painter's tape. Essentially what you've created here is a giant compass, and I would like to apologize to my high school geometry teacher, Miss Ailes, for thinking that I would never use this in real life. Now, this is a DIY project, so I would be very shocked if you didn't run into some technical difficulties like I did. Do as I say, not as I do. I didn't tie the dental floss securely enough, so it was slowly migrating as I was drawing with my pencil, and it caused me to go totally off course. But never fear, that magic eraser that you cleaned your wall with, it is a pro at removing those pencil marks. It's actually a lot easier than using a pencil eraser. I filled the hole where our nail and dental floss was. I did use my finger. I will sand it and we'll paint over it whenever we paint the arch. The nitty-gritty that I referred to earlier is here, the most fun part. It's actually time to paint. The color I'm using today is Tarragon by Valspar, and I like to keep a paint cup, a red Solo cup, whatever you have on hand, so I'm not constantly running back and forth to dip my brush, and it just minimizes the chance of spills as well. My next tip is it is easier to start higher on those pencil marks and work your way down simply because you're working with gravity that way and your arm doesn't get as tired, and I find that minimizes mistakes. Please don't make fun of the way that I paint baseboards. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Actually, I do have one last piece of advice. When you are up close, getting into the nitty-gritty, the details of it, don't obsess over it. When you stand back from your viewpoint, I bet you can't see the little shakiness of my hand. If you can, keep it to yourself. So I hope this was helpful for you. Please subscribe, only if you want it. It really helps me out. And I will see you in the next video, I hope.